how would you view the personality of Alan Turing?
I think this is one reason why a lot of people are so interested in him. He's kind of iconic in a way, and it's hard to pin down why, but I think he was a very geeky sort of person, and very and he had vision, and he thought about things, and the way the world worked was very important to him personally. And I think a lot of people find that kind of involvement of the personal and the scientific quite a potent mix, and it kind of means something to them, because most scientists and computer scientists and so on, they actually care about the computation, the way things work, the logical structure, embodiment of intelligent machines and so on. These are all things that they really do care about, and when you see people clashing about ideas, there's often a personal element, but there's also an element of real kind of intensity of involvement in the science, and this is why these things often get quite passionate, really. And but I think also, well, of course, I should say that in modern parlance, people will say that Turing was probably on the autistic spectrum. He's probably had Asperger's syndrome, which many very clever kids in computer science, and should I say potential computer scientists, many of them have similar sorts of personal makeup, and they have problems at school. And a lot of people who became famous later on had problems at school because they were very involved in science, and so they look back and they say, there's Turing, he had problems, and he was a man of dignity. He never complained, he got on, he had a lot of courage, he did great things, he had vision, he's still important to us. This is a kind of iconic model, that can inspire us. And people who don't actually know much about science, you have to get funding and all these sort of things. And to have somebody who's kind of very honest and had a lot of integrity, this is kind of a good model, really. And of course, Turing had the problems that we have in getting funding and so on. Because when he was building his ACE machine in the 1940s, he had all sorts of frustrations. Actually, in Bletchley Park, he had frustrations. They couldn't get what they wanted to do the job, and they sent a letter to Winston Churchill. And Churchill read this letter, and he said, "Make sure these guys get what they want straight away." And it happened. But unfortunately, this isn't a route that we can take usually. So he had these. Later on, he had these frustrations, and actually he gave up. He left National Physical Laboratory, and he left other people to finish the job. And it was finished, and it was a good machine, scaled down from his ambitions. But then he went back to Cambridge for a year, and then he went to Manchester, where he did all this great stuff in the last years of his life. It's amazing what he did in the time available to him. You trace his career, there it is, around 20 years, slightly less than 20 years. I mean, what do we do in 20 years? It's if one could do in a whole career what he managed in that time, I think we think we were blessed, with good fortune. So amazing amount. Of course, he was always busy. Being by himself, he never had a family, of course. He was worked, and that's, I guess, we tend to look for more in life than just work, but it did pay for his case.
So, Turing just got, I would say, recognized in recent years. So, this year we have certain kind of many different kind of activities.
Yeah.
Celebrating to it. So how would you see this kind of atmosphere
I think there's one thing that Turing did which is kind of worth importing into the modern times, which is the kind of the interest in different areas, the multidisciplinarity. And he would reinvent himself. You know, you thought he was working on one area, and the next thing here is he's doing biology. You know, and the thing is that you look at different areas and they have fundamental problems, and often they turn out to have relevance to the fundamental problems in your area. And of course, you go to a different area and they're solving them in different ways, and the way they're doing it can be brought back into what you're doing. And so I think that kind of level of basic involvement with the science is something that's worth kind of resuscitating, if you like. And I think it's happening. There's a lot of interdisciplinary work happening nowadays. And in a sense, I mean, I get the feeling that there's quite unusual, quite remarkable things happening in computer science, and it's generally, the way that connections are being made with physics and biology and computing, and a lot of kind of quite imaginative and innovative work being done. And I kind of have this feeling that the Turing centenary is kind of accelerating these kind of developments and making people more aware of the importance and the possibilities of working with people with different levels of expertise in different areas. Also, I have to say that it's another thing that Turing demonstrates is that often it helps not to know too much about a problem. He was notoriously, he would approach a problem and he'd think it through from scratch. He'd reinvent the wheel very often, and often he wouldn't read what other people had done. He would think about it in a very basic way and then come up with a very novel solution. Well, of course, one doesn't. Kids coming up today, one does recommend they actually find out, some of the techniques that are basic to the area. But you can know too much, and it does help to think deeply as well as learn techniques and just try to apply.